Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to share a breakdown of how I spend my money each month. I did film a video just like this in August of 2020, so it has been about a year, and I do want to share an update because things have changed quite a bit. I will link that video down below. I'm sure most of you who are watching this now were not here when I filmed that video, so you can get a glimpse of what my finances were like back in 2020, late 2020. I also am going to go ahead and put up an image of what my pie chart looked like then, what my spending was like then. So I'm not going to keep this up the whole time, but at the end I'll basically give you a rundown of the main differences between last year and this year, so how my spending differs between 1 year. There are some things that I changed for this year's pie chart. So one of the things is that I added a couple of categories because last year I noticed I was missing some, and I did go ahead and order these from largest spending category to the lowest. Last year it was just kind of random based off of like my budget. But yeah, other than that, for the most part, it is the same breakdown. And the first thing I want to make note of is my income. So last year I said that my take-home pay, this is all based off of my take-home pay. So after taxes, last year it was about $4,300, and this year I'm going off of $4,884. So almost $600 of a difference. I would say that this is still quite generous. Like this is too low probably. I am probably taking home a little bit more now. And I know that last year I definitely wasn't making as much as I am now from online income. My salary has increased with my full-time job, but that's not really where I make the difference isn't really from that. The difference is coming from my online income. So, but yeah, I would say that this is a pretty low average. So maybe it's closer to 5,000, but we're just, for this video, we're going with $4,884, and that's what these percentages are based off of. All right, so the first and largest category is my savings and debt, which I'm very happy to say because that's exciting. That's good that the largest portion of my spending per month goes towards savings and debt. So let me go through the numbers first. So the way that I calculated this was by filling in the table and pie chart with everything else first, and then I took that total from my take-home pay, and that's how I got this number. So the total is $1,715. I would say that's about right. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little bit more. Just, it depends on my situation. The percent of my take-home pay is 35.1%. I will say something about this. So it's not 100% accurate because this savings does include my sinking funds. Now, I will say sinking funds aren't technically savings because those are being used for spending in different categories. My sinking funds do include my emergency fund, and so that is accounted for in this number. But there are 8 other sinking funds that I have, and I put several hundred toward those every month outside of my emergency fund. So, you know, it may be a little bit lower because of that, since a lot of people don't count sinking funds as savings. But I am going to just keep it that way just because, I don't know, just for consistency, and it's easier to do this because I did include that in last year's. But if you watch my monthly videos, my monthly updates, then you know what my other sinking funds are, so you can see that those are my different spending categories too. So I didn't quite add all of those on here, even though I technically should. But to have 35% going towards savings and debt is really good in my opinion. So compared to last year, I'm up about, what, 4% or so, almost 4%. And I would like this to be still my highest category in a year from now, but well over 50%. And, you know, kind of going hand in hand with investments, which I will get to in a minute. So I do have that separate on here, but I would like this to be instead savings/investments, and that to be over 50%. I also don't want debt to be on there at all because, you know, really by July 2022 or August 2022, when I film another one of these updates, I will not have any debt. So I am happy to say that this section is the first one because it's the largest. Hopefully we only improve from here. The next largest category is housing, and this is just my rent, so not utilities, and that's a total of $1,373. My rent only went up by like $20 something, 27 I think, from last year, but you can see based off of my take-home pay, this is lower. So the percentage that I spend on housing is about 28.1% compared to last year, which was over 30%. So I'm down over 2%, which is pretty decent. I know that 28% is still pretty high, but again, I still live alone. This is like a luxury apartment and I feel very safe here. I love it here. I absolutely love where I live. So 28% is reasonable for me. Even at 31%, I think that was fair, just based off of what I make and how I manage my money. I know I could improve in this area, obviously, but for now, it works for me. So it is nice to see that it did go down though from last year. Now, those are obviously taking up a huge portion of this pie chart. So the next are quite small, and the next highest is food. And this includes groceries and going out to eat. I took an average of 2021 spending in these categories, and it was about $360 a month. So 7.4% of my take-home pay. That's basically the same as last year. In fact, it's a little bit lower. So yeah, I think spending on quality food is worth it, and most of this is just groceries. It's not going out to eat. I barely spend on going out to eat. So 7.4% is not bad, and that is my third largest category. Next is health and beauty, and this is basically about $300 a month. Now, there were some outliers over the last 6 months, but I just took like a very rough average, because I spent, over $1,500 in 1 month so far this year. But I would say on average, it's like $300 a month. And this includes beauty as well. So my skincare stuff, my vitamins, my supplements, and then doctor visits. $300 per month. That is 6.1% of my take-home pay. This category did go up compared to last year. Next would be utilities at $203 a month. This is about an average because this includes electricity, Wi-Fi, water and sewage, trash, and pest control. So I would say about $203 if I took, what I typically budget for those, and that is 4.16% of my take-home pay. I know some of this could be I could include it in housing or something, but I did want it separate because it is, 4% is a pretty decent amount of my take-home pay, so I did want to keep that separated. Next category is insurance. So this one is new. I didn't have this one last year, mostly because I didn't have my own car insurance, and I just kind of wanted to lump these all together. So this includes my life insurance, which I know is not necessary. I'll put a disclaimer in the box. If you're curious as to why I have life insurance, then it'll be in my description box. But this includes life insurance at $90, my renter's insurance, which is like less than $14, and then my car insurance, which is like $97 a month, but I pay it every 6 months. So I would say $200 a month, and that is 4.1% of my take-home pay. I have another category that is exactly the same, which is miscellaneous. And again, I say about $200 or 4.1% of my take-home pay. Again, this is another category that would fluctuate here and there. For example, in June, I spent over $600 in miscellaneous categories. This also includes probably many different things, like if I have to purchase electronics, if I purchase clothing, if I pay for parking. But I would say $200 is an average that I would be spending for the rest of 2021. This is going to be closer to 0 or maybe 20 or something like that. But for so far this year, and basically based off of the last year, I would say $200 is decent. Next is business. I did not include this last year, but it is fair for me to include this because I probably spend, close to $2,000 a year on my business, which isn't that much, but that comes to about $167 per month, or 3.4% of my take-home pay. Every month I do share what I spend on business expenses in my online and extra income videos, so if you're interested in knowing what my business expenses are, it's in each of those. Next section is investing, and that is $150 per month. Sometimes I do more, but for the last, 6 months at least, it's been about $150, and that is 3.1% of my take-home pay. Like I said, I want this will probably be next year together with the savings. or at least next year I'm hoping it'll be like in the top 3% highest areas. So that would be like savings, investing, and housing. But for now, $150 a month isn't too bad. This all goes to my Roth IRA. My full-time job income is a little bit weird, so I technically can't, any of that money that I get from my full-time job, I cannot put into a Roth IRA. So any amount that I am putting to my Roth is coming from my online income. So one day this will be much higher. For dogs, it's $100 a month. This is what I send my sister each month. This year, again, was a little bit different because my dog had surgery, so I spent like over $1,200 one of these months. But for the most part, it's $100, and that is 2.1% of my take-home pay. I donate $50 a month at least, and that is about 1%. This is about the same as last year, but honestly, it went down a little because of my income went up. And you know, as I said in my video last year when I made this makes me kind of sad, and I do want to increase it. It's just right now I'm really focused on paying off my debt, and I know that the time will come for me when I can be more generous with my money. But when I donate money, it's it's always to an animal rescue. Next is my phone bill. So for the bulk of 2021 and the end of 2020, my phone bill was $0 because we had like a rebate for our new family plan. But it's basically going to be like $40 or $45, I don't know. And that is 0.8% of my take-home pay, so barely anything at all. This is actually a pretty big improvement compared to last year because my phone bill for 2020 was $80. It may have been even higher than that. So I know that's not the percentage difference isn't huge, but that is a pretty decent savings for a phone bill. The final category, the lowest category, is transportation. And this is super exciting because all I included in this was my gas. Now, I know I could include like if I have to do oil changes or whatever. I'm just putting my gas because, again, part of my sinking funds are for car and car maintenance, and I would use that. But really, I'm not driving very, very often, so I have barely had any maintenance on my car. The last time I got an oil change was October 2020, and I definitely won't need one until at least then, probably even going into 2022. So it's not very often that I'm spending on my car, and I love that this number is so low. So $26 is about what I've been spending on gas. I took an average of the last 6 months. This is probably gonna be a little bit higher over the next few months, so maybe 50 or something. But with this $26, that is 0.5% of my take-home pay. And this is the biggest difference from last year because last year my transportation was over 11%. So clearly we have about 11% difference here in the good direction. And it was cool to look back at this video from last year because in that video is basically when I decided I wanted to change my plan and start paying down my car before my student loans. And I did go ahead and do that. And as you all know, I paid off my car in February of this year. And not having to have a car payment is huge. So my car payment was $383 a month, which is not crazy, but that is pretty high. So I've been able to put that $383 toward my savings or toward my debt, and it makes a world of a difference. I think having your car paid off it's such a good feeling. I don't know, I often forget that I have it paid off and then I'll randomly remember and it makes me smile. So I am so grateful that I did pay that off and I made the decision to do that. You know, spending only 0.5% on transportation each month is a huge saver. I would rather not spend money on a car, you know. Now, there are going to be things missing from this, of course. There's random things that I would happen to spend money on, but for the most part, this is about right. This is an average month for me. And basically, to summarize, my income increased by almost $600. My new highest spending category is savings and debt instead of housing. I increased that by about 4%. I decreased my housing percentage by like 2 to 3%. And then I decreased my transportation by about 11%. So those are the main pointers here. I think the main thing I can improve on is my housing, but that is one of the most difficult things to improve upon, especially if you're like me and you don't want to live with somebody else. Like, I don't want random roommates. At this point, I am not looking to buy a house anytime soon just because of how crazy the market is, and I just want to pay off my student loan debt first. I would definitely like to improve or increase my savings and investing, and then get rid of my debt. So like I said, by next year, the next time I film this, I do not want any of this going to debt, and then I would like my savings and investment percentage to be over 50%. So I think this is exciting to look at and exciting to look forward to. I've actually been looking forward to making this one for months now, so it's very nice to see it all broken down. And I do suggest you do this because I didn't do this for the first time until last year in that video, and I think it's a great way to see where your money is going and how you can improve. I did this because I had watched a Graham Stephan video, and I can link that down below as well, because he basically broke down where your money should be going. And obviously he's not 100% correct, or what he says is not exactly what you need to follow. It's just a reference that I was going based off of and why I decided to make this. So that's a breakdown of my spending. Let me know if you have any questions or if you think of anything that I could improve here. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.